children are learning in the school system today. It is profoundly as false as it is ignorant. And if you do not pay close attention to what your children are learning, they will someday become the history that you tried not to repeat. Melanie, if you could tell everybody exactly what is the definition for communism in the public schools?
So the definition for communism is a state of economic and political affairs where everyone would contribute according to his or her abilities and consume according to his or her needs. And that sounds beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, doesn't it?
I
That
th-
just sounds like really what you would want.
I think
But
it
that's not the way communism works, of course.
exactly. Can you tell everyone the reality of communism?
And the reality of communism is that the state owns everything. It owns your freedoms. It owns your right to religion. It decides what kind of information you have access to and kind of you don't think China and North Korea and places like that. And the state owns everything. And as far as it being, there's another definition in the book that refers to it as being an ideal in a classless society, but of course we know that the people in charge live like kings, and the common people live like paupers, and are often poor. Like I said, you use North Korea as a perfect example, where the people there are malnutritioned and are by and large smaller in size because of their lack of nutrition. Because Kim Jong Un and his family own everything, and they don't have the same freedoms, the same access to information that we do here in the United States. So,
Exactly.
but what they in the schools, this was, and by the way, this is from an economics textbook that I teach out of, that I teach an economics class. And
Now, why is it that the left wants to teach it in such a benign way? This whole idea about communism and socialism.
well, this is all about government control. That's why and if you get the kids while they're young, then you can control their vote, and you can get them to give up their power quite easily by brainwashing them into thinking that this is the perfect way to go. And you can see it now. I mean, when Bernie Sanders was first running for president in 2016, it was unthinkable to have a communist in the White House. Now they've even moved further to the left. So you see, it's a perfect example of how people are just becoming more and more comfortable with this thought of communism, and it actually is really scary.
When BZ and I spoke on last Monday, we talked about how the classroom was becoming more violent um, on both sides of the fence, from the student as well as the teacher. And I don't know if you've ever experienced violence in your classrooms. And I'm not just talking about the guy who comes with a trench coat and a shotgun and has been bullied. I'm talking about everyday teacher student physical disputes. Is that
Did
happening?
you see? Did you see the video on World Star
Yes.
with me being assaulted by a student? And
What?
what happened? Did you see that video? Because whatever happened would have went viral. Just so,
Yeah.
that's how you know. That's how you know it didn't happen to me. But I have been threatened by students before. I've had chairs thrown in my direction. I've been told to make love to myself several times. Um,
Wow. At least the kids are learning something in sex ed. There you go.
in that vernacular.
But
This is a family friendly show.
family friendly. We get the point. But does that mean that they no longer respect the whole identity of the teacher student relationship, and what has actually come in to separate the parent teacher student relationship?
Well, there's a couple. I will say there's a few things that are happening. Number one, the left definitely has an agenda where they want to be the parent and the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the problem. And the other part of the problem is that, quite frankly, because I believe we're living in the last days, that many parents have acquiesced their responsibility as parents to the leftists and to the school system. And so you have kids who are left in a lurch, who are not being taught respect at home, not being taught that they need to respect their parents, and consequently, they're coming into the school system and classrooms thinking that it's appropriate to disrespect their teachers. So you have but the biggest thing is that you have an agenda and you have a situation where the schools are saying, yes, we can do it all. And the dirty little secret is that schools do not fix kids' problems. What they do is get them through the school system completely broken.
Wow.
So that's exactly what they do. So while parents are thinking that, the schools are giving them these IEPs and these special programs and this, that, and the other, they're not fixing their kids. They are passing them through despite their problems. They're doing the best they can despite their problems. So when you have a student, for example, who has oppositional defiance disorder, and basically what that means is bad parenting. I'm not kidding. If you look it up under WebMD, I looked it up one time because I was meeting with a parent whose kid had oppositional defiance disorder, and I wanted to know what the causes were because it sounded to me like he just needed a Bondi. And when I went and looked it up under WebMD, under the causes, one of the causes was bad parenting. Literally, that's what it said. And I'm like, okay, translation, he didn't get his Bondi when he was younger, and now he's oppositionally defiant. So when you have kids who are oppositionally defiant, you find modifications like learning modifications like ignore annoying habits. You know what that's like? That's like having a kid who's being completely disobedient and you ignoring him being disobedient. That's what that means. And so what that kid learns is I can be disobedient and disrespectful to authority, and then when they end up in jail because they didn't respect the authority of the police officer, or worse, they end up dead because they never learned to respect authority, then everybody wants to scream and cry and be upset. But
exactly.
It's part of the fault of the schools for saying that they can parent these kids when really they're not parents. It's an absolute nightmare, and it's a misnomer. But in the meantime, they're teaching them these leftist principles and these leftist philosophies, having, whenever there's a school shooting or wherever something happens, they'll have, the ACLU or someplace like some organization like that come in and do some anti-gun propaganda. It's so ridiculous.
Exactly.
It's just a complete.
Now I want to go through.
It is a complete.
I want to go through a few of these because a lot of people are unaware that a former Democrat turned Republican under Ronald Reagan, who served in the U.S. House of Representatives for over 20 years, back in the 1960s going into the 70s, named Sid Herlong Jr. of Florida, stood up on the House floor on Thursday, January 10th, 1963, and read through 45 goals that were clearly written by Cleon Skousen in his book called The Naked Communist. He read those 45 goals in 1963, and I just want to go through a few of those with you in terms of their impact on the educational system. Because you've already spoke to the fact that the whole idea is to teach students what capitalism is and what communism is not. The whole idea that you transfer power to a rigid few to hold the responsibilities of redistribution for all on a promise of equality. But that stuff doesn't happen with an immediate generation. It takes time. And you came through the World War II generation, the Korean generation, the Vietnam generation, and now you're coming through a period of 9/11 generation. And communism seems to be an okie dokie kind of thing. They have forgotten what we fought in World War I and II. But number 17 of the promises or goals of communism was to get control of the schools, use them as a transmission belt for socialism and current communist propaganda, soften the curriculum, get control of teachers' associations, put the party line in textbooks. So I want to go with you on a line by line, kind of verse by verse of that particular promise. Have the communists taken control of the schools in your belief or from your experiences?
Oh, in my opinion, they have, and it's everywhere. It's to the point where you have teachers who are absolutely scared to say anything in support, anything against the communist system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bad thing because people are afraid for their jobs. People have no backbones, and quite frankly, I put that in the category of just really not believing that God is the one who provides for you. Because if you believe that, then you'll say what you want and you'll stand up for what the truth is. But if you don't believe that God is the one who provides for you, then you will sit there silent and allow these communist principles to kind of take over and even acquiesce to some of them yourself.
You know, you hit on a key point there regarding the church, and we want to just put a pin in that 17th goal. It was goal number 27, which was to infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion, discredit the Bible, and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity, which does not need a religious crutch. Has that happened with the students? I know some of your students go to godless.
Oh, the public school system is the biggest cesspool. It is the most godless place in the world. You hear more profanity, there's drugs everywhere. I mean, you smell weed pretty regularly. I can't even tell you about the number of times I hear the F word just in the course of a given day. Sometimes I play a little game with myself to see how long it takes for me to hear the F word. So far, the record is about 10 minutes.
Wow.
That I get to school and I see the F word. There's a child whose locker must be somewhere near my classroom who has renamed his Wi-Fi hotspot, has renamed that F here. So every morning when I sign on, I get to see that when I hook up to my Wi-Fi at school.
Wow.
Yeah. Not even kidding. So, and these are, and they know that the teachers can see this, and they don't care.
No.
That's how. And let's not even talk about the half-naked kids and the sex that goes on. When you are doing things like lunch duty and hall duty and things like that, you think you're just gonna, make sure the kids are going to class and they're not running late and things like that. No, you're looking out for people's kids vaping in the hallway. You're looking in corners and whatnot to make sure nobody's having sex. You're looking out for drugs. It's ridiculous. And it sounds like you're in the middle of a Def Comedy Jam or a Richard Pryor album as you're walking down the halls.
Now,
It is a spiritual cesspool.
Melanie, a lot of people are sitting back saying, "Oh, that's those children, not my children." Are my children?
No, your kids too. Your kids too.
Yeah, thank you. You
Your
answered
little angel too.
exactly. And
Straight A students are the absolute worst. They're the biggest cheaters. Let's not even talk about that.
so
The lying and the cheating, they will look right in your face and lie, and they cheat all the time. You ever wonder why your kid is getting all A's but somehow fails, get all A's on his homework but somehow fails the test? That's because they're cheating. They're cheating their way all through school. There's a number of different apps, especially in math, that will do their homework for them. There's a number of different websites that will write things for them where they won't get caught plagiarized. You wonder how your kid can be getting such good grades, but at the same time, they can be so dumb. That's because they're cheating.
well, you're talking about lying, stealing, cheating, dishonoring mothers and fathers. You're talking about coveting other people's property. You're talking about all those particular things are adversive to the Ten Commandments. Is there anywhere in the school that the Ten Commandments are listed, or is there a Bible somewhere in the school? Why aren't the children available, have access to that particular resource? Are Christian leaders of the mega churches coming to the public schools to provide any counsel or help or support?
Now, my school does have a Bible club, and the assistant pastor from the church that I happen to go to does come for Bible club, I believe, once a week during lunch. But the Bible club is very small. I think there's like 700 kids in our school, and the Bible club, I go when I can if I'm off,
Yeah.
has maybe 7 kids in it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
one time there was a speaker there, and I just have to tell the story real quick. There was a speaker in one of our big assembly halls, and he asked the question, "Who is like the most important person to you?" And different people said different things, and the kids would all clap. And then one poor girl, and she's not a poor girl actually, she said Jesus, and nobody clapped, and a couple people booed.
Wow.
And I was livid.
So
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Now, a lot of people would say, well, it's just the kids at this point who are cheating. Dave Milner has a question of whether teachers basically succumb to the threat of parents regarding grades and help the students or pay teachers to change grades.
Well, I'll tell you what happens is administrators tend to change grades. As a matter of fact, I'm doing my thesis for my doctorate on the whole grading modification situation that goes on in schools. Because a lot of times, once they run out of money, they want to get rid of the kid. And I have had situations where grades have magically changed, where the kid needed my class to graduate. He failed my class, but his grade magically changed to a passing grade so that he could graduate. And administrators will do this to teachers all the time. A lot of people think that it is the teachers that are doing this, but it's not. It's the administrators. And to be totally honest, administrators are being pressured by superintendents, and superintendents are being pressured by politicians. And you know what they say about what rolls downhill.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because in Prince George's County, Maryland, teachers were fired because it was found out that a large majority of the students that graduated did not even pass state exams. And in addition to that, in the District of Columbia, there were students who had been missing 6 months of school who graduated on time. And when asked of the teachers on the DL, they wouldn't dare come out publicly and say it aloud. But on the DL, they said that they didn't want to go up against the teachers who were trying to get bad kids out, and they didn't want to go up against parents who were trying to get their kids out of the house as well. So you all are in a catch-22 situation with today's kids. Am I right?
Oh, we definitely are, and it's a matter of money. Each one of those kids is worth about $50,000 a year. So, depending on what the situation is, depending on the state funding, the local funding, whatever monies come to that school for that kid, that's a whole lot of money. So each one of those kids are dollar signs. So every time a kid falls out, that's money off of the budget, off of the budget line, off of their bottom line, and that quite frankly is what it's really about. I have kids. I have a class right now where the kids have serious problems, and they probably should not be in school. But it is about money. Yeah. It is about money. It's about not wanting to let those kids go, because if they let those kids go, then that's less money in the budget, and then they can't keep the teachers, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, I want to go back to the points regarding getting control of the schools, because I mean, there's no way that people who call themselves Democrats today are actually Democrats. They really are not Democrats at all. They really are either communists or socialists in some degree. And you just picked the flavor of the month at this particular point in terms of which one you are. But in the sense of getting control of the schools, meaning the administration of them, they've done that. Basically, are they instructing children or crafting it in such a way that children just naturally accept socialism and believe whatever the communist propaganda is?
Well, the way the information is presented to the kids is as if it's fact.
Mm-hmm.
It's never presented as a theory. Well, they presented communism as a theory as if it doesn't exist, which is hilarious and dangerous. Not to mention, because if you present it as a theory in the United States, when you know good and darn well it's alive and well and exists, then that makes it seem like it's something that's really benign. That, you know what, maybe the United States should go ahead and try communism. Ironically, I looked at the definition for capitalism, and very surprisingly, or not so surprisingly, the definition is not quite as warm and fuzzy for capitalism as it was for communism.
What is the definition?
Definition says an economic system where private citizens own and use the factors of production to own for their own profit or gain.
Ew.
Now, doesn't that sound horrible?
Oh, gee, you selfish people. Wow.
Exactly.
So in this particular sense, I want to go back to the 27th promise. Since the absence of the Bible, the absence of God in the classroom, the absence of prayer in the classroom is obviously there. And you have kids who are lying, cheating, and stealing, and parents who are upholding them in that particular pursuit. And that there are no real church leaders in the community who are coming into the schools themselves to reach out to the kids. Now, I can understand why Kanye West is number one at this point. But the whole idea that a child is taught to covet another man's property, another man's wealth. Have you ever tried, or has it ever been tried in your school, the test that if whoever got the lowest grade, everyone else got that person's grade? Would such a test work?
I'd love to try that in my class.
Yeah.
I should try that in my economics class. That would work.
You know, because I mean, it just makes sense. If you really believe in redistribution of wealth, then you should redistribute your A for someone else's F, and you take the F. You know what I'm saying? It just makes sense. But are our children being trained to accept capitalism as the second greatest liberation tool in the world outside of Christianity?
Oh no, definitely not. They're not being taught that at all. As a matter of fact, you will hear kids say that the older kids say that communism is a good idea, unless they're being raised right. Like I can tell the kids in my economics class that are being raised right. We have certain sections where we will debate certain principles, and I can always tell a Trump supporter, or as I like to say, a kid who's being raised right, or a conservative kid, or a kid whose parents are conservative, because just by the way that they think. But most of them think warm. But you should have heard that I had a debate one time in my economics class about whether or not the government should pay for health care, and you should have heard the warm and fuzzy, just rainbow and kitten and puppy like answers that were totally not based on economics at all, but based on their feelings, because then everybody would have health care. Man.
Exactly.
I mean, information is presented in the book. They don't get into the economic impact on everybody having health care, like where that money would come from. They just dealt with it in theory. And in theory, it's wonderful.
Do they also understand that Medicare is the largest organization that rejects the most health insurance claims in the country? It's not private insurance. Oh, my goodness. It's not private insurance. It's your government-sponsored Medicare and Medicaid that will reject the claim right off the bat. Come out with your own deductible costing for that. I want to ask you in follow-through in terms of that. We already know that they softened curriculum based on Common Core. They're just renaming it and reorganizing it to dumb down our children. But do the communists and socialists have control of the teachers' unions and teachers' associations?
Through the teachers' unions, they definitely do. I mean, perfect example of that. Until the Supreme Court took care of that monster, and now I'm not in the teachers' union anymore, thankfully. But every year, the teachers' union will send out a book of endorsed candidates. And the endorsed candidates are always Democrats. All Democrats, all leftists. They don't even humor you with one independent. I mean, no, they're all leftists. And I said to a group in the faculty room one time, don't you find it curious that every single endorsed candidate is a Democrat? Do you think that every single teacher all across New Jersey is a Democrat? You don't think there's any teachers that are Republicans? And don't you think it's a little crazy that that's where all our money goes? The leftists and not to mention that the teachers union support wonderful organizations like Planned Parenthood.
There you go.
You know, when you consider the political power that the teachers unions have, and it's not just doesn't just go toward education, it's a very scary thing. The leftists have full control over that, and I could not be more thankful to the Supreme Court for making it so that we do not have to participate in that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have listened to a great instructor of the classroom who has broken down the 17th promise and also alluded to the 27th one, because there's a lot of liberation theologians out there who should be really ashamed of themselves when you stand before God and have to admit that you taught leftist propaganda rather than the Bible. You will be definitely burned. Your works will be burned away in terms of what you've done. But I want to ask you about the biggest motivating factor in the classroom, the tools that have the greatest impact in the classroom. No, it's not the teachers. It's called TV, radio, social media, and motion pictures. How great the influence have those been on you and others as teachers?
You know, it's to a point where I think there are many kids who are addicted to those things. They're addicted to TikTok is the latest thing that they're addicted to Snapchat, to, you know, they don't really do Facebook. That's for us old people. Or boomers, as they call us now. But they're really addicted to all those things, and they're very heavily influenced as if those things are important. You should see the amount of drama, the sheer drama that goes on in a school over who said what, who's wearing what. And I'm always looking at these kids like and saying to them, who cares?
Yeah.
Why do you care? You know, I don't understand why you care. Why is that remotely important? You're here to do a job. You're here to get an education. And literally, none of that's important. But all they do all day is play games on their phone, look at their phone, surf the internet. That's all they do.
Well,
and it is really frightening how addicted they are and how little they care about their education, to be honest.
Is it really about getting education, or is it about getting indoctrination?
Oh, it's about getting indoctrination. And you know, the big tech companies like Google, I'll use Google for an example, are also responsible for this, because one thing that I've noticed as a technology teacher is that when you tell kids to look things in school, you will get different results than if you're looking it up from home.
Exactly.
And the results tend to be leftist propaganda when you're looking things up from school. One of my kids told me something about gun control, and told me that President Trump had allowed mentally ill people to get guns or something like that he had just passed a law, which was a complete and total lie of leftist propaganda. And I told them to Google it, and sure enough, one of the first things that came up was all this anti-gun stuff, all these anti-gun results. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what are they doing? And, you know, with the advent of Google Classroom and things like that, means you're in a total Google world at school all the time. But these leftists are everywhere, and they are really taking over.
Now, Donald Trump said in a speech at the earliest part of this year, the State of the Union address, that we will always be a free nation. How free are we as a nation when our children are learning to become socialists and to become communists?
You know, we're not going to be free for long if Republicans, conservatives, Christians don't get off their collective behinds and start paying attention to what's going on in the school.
Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back from this particular break, and this particular recording will be available to you tomorrow afternoon of listening to Melanie Collette. I mean, great professor, great teacher, great economist, and basically giving you the 411 or the 211 or the 311 or the 911. Actually, it's more 911 now, about what's happening in the educational setting and why you should be concerned about it. That communism is just a generation away. If 90% of the millennials believe that socialism could work in the United States, you're a generation away from being under the boot of a communist leader, dictator. Just letting you know that. We'll be back with more of the best of Urban Conservative Talk. Melanie Collette will remain with us and her dog. We will send a gift coupon to the dog. We'll be right back.
Hi y'all, I am here with a plus size haul / try on video, and I want to show you guys some pieces that I have found from TECN.com. Now TECN.com is like there's a Runway and different sites like that. It is an Asian wholesale website, and I wanted to prove to